Good afternoon. I'm Danielle Larocca from EPI-USE and the SAP Mentors Program, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Becky Doyle, SAP's Global Vice President, Product Support. And together we're going to talk about BTP in the context of HR and payroll and human experience management. We're joined by Dave Maloney, SAP's North American Vice President, Business Technology, Cloud Platform, Data and Analytics. Thank you for joining us. Our goal today is to take the topic of BTP and make it more palatable and relatable for those of us in the HXM space who wish to understand its role beyond the technical or the architectural layer, or as Becky says, to humanize BTP.
Thanks, Danielle. I am so excited to be here today again with you and joined, of course, by Dave. As you know, in HXM, we are on a journey to change work for good. It is no surprise that people are at the heart of this change, and without them, we won't be successful. I also know that people, especially people data, is at the heart of BTP and really what makes it so powerful. I can't wait to learn more about the topic today and hopefully connect some of those dots in a simple way for our HR counterparts.
There's been quite a lot of information. There's been presentations, webinars shared by SAP about all things BTP. But for those like me, who are usually not the most technical person in the room, I think it makes sense to get a more simple definition of BTP and how it impacts customers, partners, and people in the SAP SuccessFactors world.
I agree completely, Danielle. BTP is known for being the connector of people, processes, and technologies. For HXM, that's really powerful in connecting employees to data. But what data and when and with what purpose? I think what I'm learning throughout this process is BTP really opens the door to things like AI, machine learning, workforce planning, and engagement, just to name a few. It really sounds cool, but what I'd love to understand, and Dave, maybe this is where you come in, there are a lot of cool terms that I just mentioned above, AI, machine learning, but there's a bit of complexity that goes along with that as well. Can you help us to connect the dots?
Sure. And to your point, the business technology platform is bringing a suite of next generation capabilities to all of SAP's applications, particularly HR, to help customers do more with them. And we have no better example recently than the COVID pandemic, where all of a sudden overnight, organizations across the globe were given new challenges that no one planned for, no one expected, no one had planned a year of, hey, here's how we're going to deal with this pandemic when it hits. It hit pretty much overnight, and within days to weeks, companies had to really quickly plan for this and react to it. And it was one of those things where companies very much wanted to keep their workforces intact. People were very upset and concerned with what was going on. But on the other side of it, companies also want to make good business decisions, right? And I think that the biggest thing that came out of the pandemic that to me was a tremendous, HR challenge was what to do with your workforce when all of a sudden money stopped coming in the door. From retailers to restaurants to consumer product companies, they had big challenges overnight. And most of them realized the pandemic was going to be a certain duration, and then it was going to be over. And they didn't want to overreact too quickly and maybe have a bunch of their workforce leave and do other things. And then after the pandemic, they'd be stuck with this major issue of not having enough people to deal with the business they had. And I mean, two examples pop out to me that were really interesting. And there are so many from so many companies who were able to successfully navigate this, keep their workforce, help their people, through the pandemic. And one company I think of that I work with quite closely, very much here in the southeast region of the U.S. is Mohawk Flooring. They're the largest global flooring company in the world. And as you might imagine, when COVID hit overnight, their commercial business almost ground to a halt. All the work that was being done on hotels, shopping centers, convention centers, a lot of those orders and those projects stopped or were canceled, until those organizations could figure out what they wanted to do with the pandemic. And, with the money stopping coming in and this workforce that was ready to deliver on these orders, they, had a big problem. But, I think as we all know how the story went, though, over on the other side of their business, the residential side, people were now redoing their offices. You can see the work I've done in my office. And redoing rooms, working on their kitchen, whatever the case might be. And all of a sudden they saw increased orders from Home Depot and a lot of their, retailers where, overnight the residential business picked up. Mohawk was able to very quickly, see that because they had a single system for planning that went across not just HR, but also manufacturing and finance. They started to see kind of what the impact on their books was, what the impact on their factories were, and they were able to kind of navigate this and kind of shift their workload over from one group to another and get through the pandemic without having a big disruption. It was good for their employees and it was good for business. I saw one other example. I attended our annual conference back in May, and Corning gave it just a tremendous presentation. And back to the point about, throughout a year, situations come up that you couldn't have planned for. And Business Technology Platform really enables customers to de-risk their deployments. They had the same situation, but it was a lot more dire than what Mohawk faced. And that Corning has a very highly skilled workforce that, does a lot of the manufacturing for optical fiber and all the different types of glass they manufacture. And they are up, primarily in Corning, New York. And if they, furloughed their workforce and those people left and went out and found different jobs, that would be a huge implication to Corning because they'd have to deal with having to retrain a lot of those highly skilled workers. So they very quickly devised a program to entice their employees to stay through this very difficult time. They teamed up with the state of New York and they devised a plan where they would, where they didn't have enough work for parts of their workforce, they would offer them the ability to opt in to a furlough program that was quite interesting. They would provide companies stock grants if they went into the furlough program, had to do this all very legally with DocuSign integrated, and then take those employees, that information, send it over to the state of New York, who would then offer a salary compensation program as part of COVID. And this enabled Corning pretty much to, survive the pandemic without having a large loss of their workforce, and also kept their employees very much committed and appreciative of the company's efforts to help them through the pandemic. What really, I think blew me away with this, and I heard about the project, they thought about this project, they saw this happening, they called the state of New York, they worked all this out. And when they built this application, which was just an extension to SuccessFactors, it took them 3 weeks to build this on the Business Technology Platform, and they rolled it out in 4. That just really threw me that the pandemic hit, and within a couple of weeks, they figured out how they were going to deal with it. They designed it from a thought, in their IT leadership's head to a productive solution in 4 weeks. That's the power of the Business Technology Platform that allows customers the ability to quickly react to unplanned, unforeseen circumstances and deliver really tangible solutions, that really help them navigate very difficult issues like this.
I think that's a really powerful 2 examples, Dave. I think a few of the maybe underlying things that maybe you don't hear as much about is really around the employee experiences. And both of the situations that you presented, I think the result from both the Mohawk and the Corning example is that the employees perhaps either had a better engagement or a better experience in managing through what could be a really difficult time from a business perspective. So we know, thanks to your great examples, that the SAP Business Technology Platform really provides those key capabilities to integrate and extend the existing HR solutions that we have to work better together. It can, as we've seen from your examples, provide better employee experiences and even help us to enhance and empower our experience goals that we have. Danielle, I know that you and I have talked a little bit about the SAP SuccessFactors diagram, top 10 ways SAP BTP can enhance employee experiences. Can you share a little bit of your insights on that?
What I liked about the diagram is that SAP tried to give real-world examples similar to what Dave was doing on how BTP can be used to solve HCM problems. I hope we're going to share a link to this top 10 ways SAP BTP can enhance employee experiences. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure you can Google it. But what it does, it talks about integration, analytics, automation, experience, mobility, and specialized apps. And it gives real-world examples of a business scenario for each one of those. While reviewing those examples for HXM, it appears that BTP is the glue or the integration mechanism by which all those things are possible. Dave, is that the right way to look at it?
It really is. And I like how you gave a broad spectrum of capability there. And that's what the business technology platform brings to SuccessFactors and to all of SAP's enterprise applications. And I think one thing that's often overlooked with what business technology platform is doing, it's doing it consistently. So if you look at what SAP is doing for core HR with SuccessFactors, then its ability to deal with contingent labor and the Fieldglass application, business technology platform really unifies the end user experience. So whether you're a contract part-time employee or you're a full-time employee, business technology platform, through its ability to synchronize the user interfaces across different enterprise application, makes that experience seamless to the end user, the employee. But also, it's not just the pane of glass on the mobile device or a PC or whatever the case might be. It's also the information in the background where employees, leaders want to look at different information, and how do you quickly bring it all together? Business technology platform allows organizations to virtually mash up data on the fly, as opposed to having to physically move it all down to I'll use a scary technical term, like a data lake or a data warehouse, those types of things. So it really provides a level of nimbleness and agility that makes the employee experience better, but also makes it easier on IT. That allows IT to get rid of this backlog of all these requests the business have and deliver capability more quickly at a lower cost of ownership.
I may be dating myself here, but back in the old on-premise ECC days of HCM, we would leverage user exits. So anytime we had a scenario where we wanted our HR product to do more than it currently did, we would write function modules, which would be like lines and lines of code that were executed at the completion of an event to do something extra the system wasn't designed to do. For example, we would run a user exit after every new hire. And what that would do is it would trigger the new employee to enroll them in a series of training classes. It sounds like BTP could be the extension that could be used now for these types of automations, but with the distinction that no coding is necessary. Is that a reasonable way to say it?
That's a great way to say it, but I even had some better information. I was sitting last Tuesday in Philadelphia, or Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, and Domino's Pizza was up presenting on their deployment. And the one thing that really resonated in my mind from the week is this term he used, future-proofing. And not only can they do things better and faster today, he was like, here's what business technology platform brought to us. We were going from an on-prem ECC environment to a cloud deployment with S/4HANA, which are the names of SAP products here. And what they were able to do was they were able to innovate now on business technology platform to meet and address those unique needs that Domino's Pizza had. And they could do it today very quickly, much faster than they could, back in the old on-prem days with user exits, ABAP, Z tables, function models and whatnot. But they were able to extract this module, build it much more quickly. Just as I mentioned about Corning building their app in 3 weeks. Domino's was able to innovate now fast. And then when they went from on-prem ECC to in the cloud with S/4HANA, all that customization, all that thing is specific and unique to their business was future-proofed, and they could use it once they upgraded to S/4HANA. So that was very powerful. And one of the things I hear a lot about with legacy customers, you could do a lot, but you incurred a very significant technical debt with those customizations, because when you went to upgrade, you had to bring those customizations forward and to retest them. Now, with business technology platform and modular development, low code, no code, that's based on application program interfaces, you no longer have that customization of the core. You've kept your core clean. Your application upgrades, sometimes in minutes. I've heard examples from last week where someone did their upgrade from S/4HANA, one patch to another in 17 minutes. Which typically would have been over a long weekend for the whole team working. They now do that rapidly because they've kept their core clean and they innovate faster in the cloud with a lower technical debt. And that was kind of for me, the takeaway from last week's BTP Customer Summit in Newtown Square.
It's a really powerful example, Dave. And with Domino's, you're definitely speaking my language. But if I can have you just make it a bit more practical from an HR perspective or from an end user perspective. Is it really possible to do what you're saying without code or programming? Does somebody need to have technical expertise to really get BTP to do what they need it to do? Is there something that a customer could build themselves? Do we need partners to help them build it? Can you give me a little bit more very simple terms on how one would look to start with BTP in solving a business problem.
Yeah, and you're hitting a key point there, Becky, where today it's more important to know the business challenge and what the business is trying to accomplish. And the tools are there to allow people that don't have a software development background deliver this if they understand the requirements. But you made the comment about the partners. And if I'm in your shoes as an HR professional, what I like about our partner landscape, they do this all the time. They've done it, dozens, hundreds of times. And having that expert come in and really help catalyze, your ability to deliver on something a lot quicker, and they come in for a short period of time, they help you out, they're experts, they know all the best practice, and they kind of are, a phone a friend, phone an expert that helps you through this. And then, once the project's done, you got one under your belt, you can let them go on to their next project, and you're ready to go very quickly. So I love leveraging our partners for short period of time to do, a spike. All of our customers all have day jobs. They're doing their day job, and they get a new requirement. They have to deliver on that. If they understand the business requirement well, they can initially, first time in, call the partner who can educate them, familiarize them with the tools. They very quickly can get to speed. It's not software development. It's all drag and drop, visual environment to build this capability. And then, and then they're all set. I heard Boston Scientific talk about this, with a lot of things they're doing from integration. They called it crawl, walk, run. And they had all these legacy tools that were super technical and a big technical debt. Every time they had a project, they had to call IT and had a plan for it. It was weeks to months to deliver capability. When they went to business technology platform, they did things first in parallel and realized, wow, we can do this at a fraction of the time. It's more performant. It's actually working better. And then very quickly, they decommissioned a lot of their legacy capabilities, moved them into business technology platform, and they've pretty much standardized on it. And it's enabled them to do more with less. And it's very easy because it's part of SAP to find experts to help them out, whether they have a phone call with somebody or they bring somebody in for a bigger initiative. But they're able to do basically more with less through the business technology platform.
I love that you mentioned partners. I'm a partner. I'm with EPI-USE. It makes sense that many of the solutions and extensions that customers use today from the SAP store then are built on BTP. An easy solution on the SAP store as an example would be that DocuSign, electronic signatures. That's the one most HR people are most familiar with. Is it overgeneralizing to say, like, just with your phone, when you want to add some new functionality, you start with the Apple Store or Google Play if you're Android, and with SAP, if you're looking to enhance what you have now or you want some more functionality, you start with the SAP store and you'll find many of the apps that you want, and many of them be built using BTP.
That's exactly right, Danielle, where you think of something at a company, you can jump out to the SAP store, you can search on, line of business, code, keywords, whatever, and you may find 3 or 4 or 5 different applications that maybe nail your requirement exactly. Then you have some choice of, who you might want to work with, or you might see something that's close, call that partner and they can say, yeah, we've built that for this and these requirements. Your requirements are a little bit different. We can quickly modify it. And it's all about, reducing that time to market and accelerating that capability. Business technology platform and our partner ecosystem that's innovating and adding a lot more value to our solutions are then providing those solutions on the store so customers can more quickly see what, maybe some partner in Australia delivered versus a partner in Belgium versus a partner in North America, and really able to leverage that global ecosystem to deliver more value at a lower cost, to our customers.
It really is powerful. And Danielle, I know that in the pre-interview, we talked a little bit more around data migration and how critical that is, but how sometimes it can be difficult and very complex for our customers. Another great example that you shared with me, if you don't mind me sharing it, is the EPI-USE data orchestration suite that manages data transformation and migration of processes for SAP SuccessFactors. It's an app that was built on using BTP that was created specifically for HXM to ensure the loading of data into their new SuccessFactors solution is done more efficiently and effectively. Being able to take the guesswork out of it and make sure that we have a really clear extension built with BTP, I think really will help the overall customer experience. So another really powerful example that you shared with me. in the pre-meeting as well. I think for me, there's so many good examples that we talked about in the call today. Lots of different specific customer examples where we know BTP is already having such a huge impact on, again, the speed at which we can transform, but also the employee experience, which we know is so important from an HR perspective. Dave, one last question from my side. I know we talked about the SAP store, but really as somebody coming in to this topic new, but excited about what they heard about today, where can one go to get started? And are there any tips or links that we can put in that will help in that journey with BTP and HXM?
Yeah. We work very carefully and closely with our partner ecosystem, like EPI-USE, one of our top partners. You guys are great. And we have a location called the BTP Discovery Center, the SAP Business Technology Platform Discovery Center. And what we've done there is two things. One, we have all the capabilities on the Business Technology Platform just laid out there in order where you can search on integration or analytics or AI or whatever the topic might be, and find out about the specifics of the service, how it works, how it's priced. All that information is wide open and transparent. But we also have a capability over there called missions. And what we've done with the missions, we've worked very closely with our partner organization to kind of, provide those examples so you can quickly unpack and say, I'm doing a, data migration project, or I'm doing a portal project to give a, unified experience. We have a service called WorkZone. So we have a lot of these missions bundled up, packaged, and ready to go that you can take off the shelf, and you can work through it kind of in a complimentary environment through our free tier that allows you to get comfortable and really learn about it, so that when you go to make a decision, there's no risk. You work with it, you've touched it, hands on keyboards, everything's clear to you, and then you're able to go, yep, this is going to work for us. And then, through our consumption-based licensing, you're able to then, pay for it once you move it into production. But that's a real benefit too, I'll say, that people like about the business technology platform. And I think it's one of those things where it shows SAP's, really, I'll say, in touches with our customers. We give consumption-based licensing, so you don't consume your license until you use it, right? So you can go out to the store, take a look at these things, find the missions that are relevant to your example, take them out, unpack them, do it in a test environment, and you go, yep, this is all going to work, no risk. Then you move it into production, and then you start paying.
Thanks for sharing all this information. Becky and Dave, a very sincere thanks for taking the time to deep dive into the topic of BTP in the context of HR and payroll and human experience management. I hope that it's provided our viewers with better insights on how they too can leverage SAP BTP to support their HR needs.
Great. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Becky.